Did WWE make the right choice selecting Jey Uso? A lot of people are giving their opinions and weighing in on what they believe is the correct call here. Was it the correct call to give it to main event Jey Uso? I'll say this. True surprise booking, which doesn't happen very often in current day professional wrestling. I didn't see it coming, and I'd venture to guess that there's probably only 3% to 5% of the people that were watching that show that actually believed at the outset when Rey Mysterio's music hit that it was going to end with Jey Uso standing tall. I mean, whenever it was billed as the best, most stacked Royal Rumble ever, they said it so many times, including on that Royal Rumble pre-show, the Royal Rumble, whatever tailgate that they had on Friday. They kept saying this is the best Royal Rumble ever. If we heard that so many times, we should have known a non-favorite was going to walk away with the winner. The amount of times that they continue to speak loudly of this is the best you're going to get, this is the best Royal Rumble ever, we should have known, but we all missed it. And it goes to Jey Uso. I mentioned it was an interesting reaction online, loaded roster, a lot of people deserving of that spot that we talked about last week, that it was hard to predict because, well, there were so many favorites. It could have gone to John Cena. I didn't want to see it, but it could have. They could have just given it to John Cena, done the lazy booking, and said he won the Rumble. He's going to go to Mania and try to get that record-breaking title reign. Could have gone to CM Punk. That's who I predicted. Could have gone to Roman Reigns. He is the most dominant force in WWE. Would anybody have been surprised that they put him back in that spot? No. Could have gone to Drew McIntyre. Less likely, but also could have gone to Sami Zayn. We talked about that last week. If Kevin Owens does win, and they are seemingly looking at Owens versus Zayn, how much better is that feud whenever it's for a world title? Does it need it? Not necessarily, but you could see it in the cards as a possibility. They end up going with Jey, and I think it's well-deserved. I think it is. Not only because he organically earned that spot, right? He organically became the most over act in wrestling, period, right now, with the Yeet and Yeet Mania, and the Yeet movement is what they're starting to call it. He earned it with the fans, and he earned it with the organization too. He earned it with the company. He's been working for, 15 to 20 years as a workhorse, as a guy that hasn't really gotten injured all that much, as a guy that has been available, as a guy that has told great stories, in particular for the last half decade as part of the Bloodline story, and even separating from the Bloodline over the past year, has been telling very good stories. He's also just become the underdog that gets close, but can't quite get over the hump. We saw it on Saturday night's main event against Gunther. We saw it last year whenever he did get over the hump, won the Intercontinental title, and then the family drama kind of pulled him back and cost him his first singles championship. So I think that it's well-deserved for Jey Uso. I think that going forward, you can do a lot of interesting things. I think the reason a lot of people were upset is they had already fantasy booked WrestleMania 41 before we even got onto the road to WrestleMania, and that set them up for disappointment when Jey Uso knocked off John Cena. There's two intriguing matchups going forward. He said it could be him versus Cody, best friends turned Mania opponents. I don't like that nearly as much as what they set up on Monday night between Jey Uso and Gunther, where Gunther said, "You're not on my level," essentially repeating everything that had been said about Jey Uso from Saturday night when he won until Monday night when Gunther walked out there. He was paying attention. He knew. He said, beating you does nothing for me at WrestleMania, does nothing for my legacy. Beating John Cena, beating CM Punk, beating Roman Reigns, that would advance my legacy, not beating Jey Uso for a second time in this title reign. So I kind of like that setup, especially since Gunther's kind of threatening bodily harm on Jey Uso for every single week between now and April. So I think that you have two interesting ways to go. And what we learned last year was sometimes it's best to just sit back, wait, and see what's going to happen. Because last year, after the Rumble, there was the weird Cody Rhodes getting taken over by The Rock situation, and they ended up turning it into one of the best two-night WrestleMania stories that we have witnessed. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy and congratulate main event Jey Uso on a crazy, crazy win at, in my opinion, the best Royal Rumble that we have seen or at least that I have seen ever.